Hey guys, how are y'all doing? Hope your week's been going well. Thanks again for joining me on the podium. My name is Kumbar, and this is a brand new podcast series where I'm going to be rambling about Formula One and I guess whatever else comes to mind. But to start off with Vegas, and not my trip to Vegas, Formula One going to Vegas. Believe it or not, last time it was held in a parking lot next to a titty bar. It worked out because the cigarette company was sponsoring both places at the time. I'm just joking. That's just a bad joke. It was held in the Caesars Palace parking lot. It was next to the Caesars Palace's parking lot. They actually made a track which looked like a claw from like that game in like Toy Story. You know, that claw. Green aliens, the claw. No, okay. Never mind. But that's what the track looked like, at least. And they haven't raced there since 82. And they only held two GPs there in 81 and 82. Alan Jones for William and Michele Alberto for Tyrrell, which, believe it or not, is now Mercedes. Of course, kind of. Mercedes exchanged a few hands, but over the years, you changed a few hands over the decades, but it is what it is now. That would be interesting. We already have Miami coming up, added to the calendar. We have already the Circuit of the Americas, and who knows what might be next. Liberty Media does own F1, and it is a US-based company. They know that it'll probably provide a good sustained growth over time. What is there, like 400 million people in the United States? That's a lot of fans. You see how fanatical football fans are and baseball fans. NASCAR is huge down in the South. You could definitely see them have a lot of opportunity down there. Everybody loves their merch down in the States. That's everybody. You go to any strip mall, you're going to find at least like 10 dudes, probably overweight, rocking dad shoes, like those Reeboks, some cargo shorts, and probably like an Atlanta Falcons jersey, or they're probably going to be wearing like a New York Yankees jersey. You're going to find those, especially down in the States, in those strip malls. And you can probably go anywhere, to be honest. Once you leave the house, you'll find them. That's plenty of sales. But yeah, a big part of that, of course, is Netflix's notorious, I don't know what to say really, infamous The Drive to Survive series. It was immensely popular. You had hundreds of thousands of people watch it, if not a few million, watching it and then becoming emotionally attached to these drivers as characters who had never had heard of Formula One before. They didn't know the sport existed. I think the closest idea that they had was NASCAR, maybe the Indy 500, but yeah, especially down in the States, no clue. And globally as well, I'm not going to discount the exposure that the sport got as well, because I'm sure there's people in China and in India and Australia, places where, you know, or even out here where I am in Canada, where they'd never heard of Formula One, no idea what it was. They thought it was, Jesus Christ, absolutely no idea. They're like, you could mention curling, but no idea about Formula One. No offense to curling, but I mean, you get what I mean. But yeah, I think Vegas makes sense considering the adding another race. It is already a place for entertainment. Geez, they have a hockey team now for a team that's in middle of a desert. So if that can happen, I don't see why not a Formula One race. And it was, I guess, Drive to Survive was released during like the pandemic. It was definitely a pandemic series, like TV series or Netflix series, where everybody was stuck at home and they were running out of things to watch. So I'm guessing people who weren't even going to watch it in the first place were thinking, why not? I can't find anything else. And they just say, fuck it. And we're going to go watch that. Christ, people were watching a guy with a mullet down south with tigers and a crazy lady who probably killed her husband, and another dude with 5 wives also had tigers. So if they could watch that racing series about drivers that travel in the world to go racing cars at 200 miles an hour, that's not very far-fetched after that first one there. But going back, in Circuit of the Americas, I had a record weekend attendance of 400,000 people, beating both Silverstone, which is arguably one of the biggest Grand Prix in the season and collects amongst the most fans out of any other circuit. And after that, Mexico as well. Both venues, both GPs grew huge crowds. And the fact that an American GP beat both of those, it's phenomenal. I mean, if that's not a proven vector of growth for the sport, with those tickets sold, I don't know what else is. And you're not just going to go off your social media impressions, because one's a lot more tactile than the other, I should say, realistic than the other. But if it does get added, it doesn't drop like a legacy track in Europe that pays half the money, like Imola. You have places like Sochi, Shanghai, and the rest of the Middle Eastern tracks that pay anywhere from 1.5 to over 2 times than what they pay in Europe. And as we all know, cash is king. It really applies to everything. I mean, you've seen team budgets balloon to hundreds of millions of dollars, which is why we have the new cost cap, which I think is going to be going down to, 135. Let's confirm that. Formula One budget cost cap. This year, their cost cap is set at $145 million and will be reduced to another 135. They do have cost caps running, but for long-term sustainability, they're going to need the funds. And you have mega sports series, obviously like football in the States and football in Europe, and they collect billions of dollars in revenue. It's for a global sport that requires a lot of cash, for a lot of the research and development, for a lot of vested interests. It makes sense to bring on those tracks that pay up. So as an example, Sochi pays $50 million for a GP to F1 compared to Monaco, which pays 15 million, which I think is funny. I'm not gonna lie, because Monaco has the highest GDP in the world, but pays like the least compared to any other track in the season, or at least compared to basically any other track in the season. And I'm sure even if Monaco decides to say, you know what, this year we're not gonna be paying you anything, just because I don't think F1 would be in too much of a. I don't think F1 would be in. It wouldn't be. They'd be flustered, of course. I'm just speaking hypothetically. But even if they didn't decide to pay, that track is at Formula One history. Monaco is synonymous with Formula One racing. They've been racing there before Formula One was Formula One. They've been having Grand Prix there since 1929, even before F1 became an official championship in 1950. And then there's even talk of a 4th race being added on the West Coast, adding to that whole idea that they need to really tap into the American market, because the viewership is there and that there's a lot of continued potential for it to grow and become a legacy sport for the United States. Hockey's really dropped off and NBA has really taken off in terms of viewership. And then if they play their cards right, could Formula One be a top 5 sport in the United States? Who knows? It would be cool because then you could just watch it on the TV. The only thing is that I think one of the biggest things would probably be holding it back is the fact that races out here are 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, which who knows how that'll turn out, which is a little difficult. If you have more races here, then more races within North American time zones. But when if you were to take out or add another race and take out another track and say I can't do math, but let's say we have 25 races and only 4 of them are in the States. And if you want to say 1 in Mexico, 1 in Canada, 1 in Brazil, what is that? 7? Yeah, so 7. So like a third, almost, just under a third. Actually, you know what? I think under a third could work. I think we could have enough viewers for under a third. I think if you build on the characters, build a relationship with the audience and the drivers, that actually might be viable. Now that I think about it, if you have I would say just under a third. That might work. I think people would maybe get up then. That would be interesting. or at least have replays. That would be instant 8 o'clock. They got a replay on ESPN. That would be pretty good. That way, if someone who's waking up, they know don't check the social media, because that's what I have to do, because I can't wake up to save my life. So yeah, I have to stay on social media myself until I watch the replay at 9 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, they could probably do that. Now that I think about it, I think they could. It might actually work. But yeah, and things are always changing. Like, my mind just not. I just convinced myself that it would work from not working at all. So things are changing all the time. They might add another racetrack in California, probably, considering it has 30 plus million people there, almost the equivalent population of the entire country of Canada, where I am. It's definitely a viable place as well to add a fourth race for sure, because the money's there. That's for sure. And going back to Liberty might even add more races to China. They have the cash to spend out there. And Christ, they'll loan money to everybody. They're definitely not borrowing daddy's credit card. That's for sure out there. You have Guan Yu Zhou for Alpine in his rookie season in this season, I should say. And that's going to draw a lot of eyes to the sport out in the East. You could definitely see the importance of how Yuki came into play with the interest that were at Honda and him getting a seat there. Don't get me wrong, he's a really good driver. Very short time spent in single-seater feeder series. That is a mouthful. Jesus. And not saying that he wouldn't get the seat, but maybe it might take longer, especially when they're handing over powertrain over to Red Bull. Honda definitely, I'm sure, put that in the contract stipulations about Yuki getting a seat at AlphaTauri. And of course, it definitely draws viewership from Japan. There's 10 million people in Tokyo that I'm sure are tuning in just because Yuki's racing. Yeah, and you have Guan Yu Zhou coming to the sport. Of course, he's bringing in mad sponsorship money for Alfa Romeo. A lot of people are upset that someone like Oscar Piastri are not getting a seat, considering him being a back-to-back Formula 3 and Formula 2 champ. The only other drivers that I know that were back-to-back champs, or at least I can recall at this moment, are George, and then Ferrari Wonder Boy, Charles Leclerc, and I think Nico Hülkenberg. Let's confirm that here. Nico Hülkenberg. I don't want to tell you guys anything wrong. Sometimes I might get it wrong, but I'll come back and fix it. F2 and F3. Let's check. Yeah, I think it was Nico Hülkenberg that was an F2 and F3 champ, if I can recall correctly. I'm going to confirm that again later. But let's see here. Going back to, yeah. But with Guan Yu Zhou in there and drawing viewership, you never know what Chinese billionaires, you know what? I think I want to buy a team. Why not? I got the cash to spend. It's not really a far-fetched idea, considering it's already been done by an Indian guy before. So considering where China is at, where it's at, it's pretty plausible. I don't think it's, like I said, it's too far-fetched of an idea that he would want to partake in the fun as well. Now, hopefully he's not committing fraud this time, like the last guy, committing fraud or trying to launder money through his team, quote unquote. Mr. Kingfisher, what's his name here? No, not the bird. Kingfisher Racing. When it was Force India by Vijay Mallya. Vijay Mallya. Let's see here. That's what he got caught for. He got in a lot of trouble for that. So let's hopefully that Chinese billionaire is not planning to do the same thing. Not saying he would. I'm just saying it's been done already. But it would be interesting to have a team in red and yellow. I'm not going to lie. We already have a team in red, white, and blue. Or I should say white, blue, and red. Giving the big finger to the IOC or WADA. Just because if you notice, Nikita does not have the Russian flag next to his name because of the doping scandal that happened during the Sochi Winter Olympics. So, yeah, it would be pretty funny, though. I'm not going to lie. If all of a sudden they have a car that's red and yellow, and then on the front on the front nose, they have a hammer and sickle, which would be funny. I'm not going to lie. And then you have sponsors like Alibaba and WeChat and Geely on the side driving around the circuit. I'm not going to lie. That would be funny. And not in a bad way, but in like spite because of the tensions that are always going on with the United States or the West and China. It just could be funny seeing that, like how we did a Russian car. Even if they don't buy out another team, 11th or 12th team would be nice on the circuit. Adding some more folks, some more drivers, I should say, to the team, adding some more drive to the grid would be nice. Maybe offering some spots to drivers who have not gotten the opportunity to because of the fact that there's only 20 seats. And it could be a place where all the Aston Martin employees could go, considering so many of them are jumping ship, because apparently not everything is merry at the Silverstone outfit, because then you have Otmar Safnauer bouncing out of there and taking his water bottle with him. By water bottle, a BWT, I can't remember for the life of me what it stands for, but it's a water treatment company that's been sponsoring Racing Point the past few years, and also providing us with that retina destroying pink livery that was also known as the Pink Mercedes, or by what one reporter called the Pink Panther. Credit for that, and Lance Stroll's driving skills for that comment there, or I should say that nickname. Yeah, because there aren't many people. I wouldn't say there are many people. There are some people that are not happy with the way things are going ever since Lance Sr. Lawrence has taken over, even boiling down to having disagreements over what the design philosophy is going to be looking like for the car. But who knows what the discussions are really happening behind closed doors. And I can only speculate. And they've had a lot of hires since then. I think they've added 200 or 300 staff to the team, to Aston Martin. But however, those might be just because they might be just leaving, because even though they've added staff, a lot of the staff that's been there since the beginning, a lot of senior staff are leaving, I think, maybe just because they just don't like the way things are changing and can't come terms to the way that the dynamics of the team are shifting. Who really knows? Behind, like I said, closed doors, you never really know. But then again, we can't really judge the departures. We can't judge based on the departures, I should say. Only time will tell, specifically when it comes down to the races in the season, and specifically races to come. Our two championship contending juggernauts apparently had too much to drink over the holidays and can't build a car anymore. Not even joking. Neither of them passed the FIA safety test, crash test, safety. Can't even say that. Crash test. Safety crash test. Yeah. And how did that happen? Who knows? But both teams are showing a pretty good poker face to the media. But I'm sure people are getting that ruler behind closed doors there. Talking about a lot about, Jesus. But yeah, I guess these new regulations are trickier than before, but it'd be interesting to see what the reason was that happened. But coming down to the 22 preseason in Barcelona is the fact that the 2022 preseason testing is right around in Barcelona. Ferrari are going to be the championship winners because of that this year, since they took P3. And considering Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren, was just quoted by Golf Business saying that they have a couple years of technical catch-up and they just can't accelerate any further or faster than and they still have to catch up on technical infrastructure, specifically their wind tunnel. And going into 2022, they don't think they'll be a championship contender. But I definitely can see Mattia back at the factory working right now with his engineers in the powertrain division to produce an engine that people are going to be saying, Mamma Mia, that's a spicy meatball. Because it was pretty crazy about when they brought in that engine upgrade in the last third of the season, and how much of a powerhouse Ferrari, Carlos Sainz, doing an absolutely unreal job for his rookie season at Ferrari, or I should say his first season at Ferrari. You saw every other driver struggle. You had Checo at Red Bull struggle, especially in the first 5 races you had, or up till the 5th race. Then you had Danny Rick just figuring it out. That's all I can say about that. And he definitely had moments where he did, thankfully, because I love him, man. Guys, you can't hate him. You just can't. Unhateable person. Everyone was hoping he'd do better, and he did. And like he said, he never left. And then who else? And we had to move around. And Seb, still trying to figure out what the Mercedes power unit, how that operates, how the car operates, moving around. And he's basically driving an old Mercedes. Yeah, again, not a super great season for him either. But the hope is that with his input, because so far every engineer, even Otmar at his time in Aston Martin, said that this driver is like working with an engineer because he's such a logical thinker, which is great to hear about Seb. Another dynamic that I was introduced to since his move, because I only saw him as a driver that had accomplished a lot, and I think still searching for, or I guess I wouldn't say searching for, I would say working towards leaving on a high note. I would say put it at that, to put it short. But going back to considering his time at Red Bull and then his days at Ferrari, yeah, I think he, despite his few championship attempts, very formidable championship attempts with Ferrari, I think with his last few seasons, which I will believe will be with Aston, again, I think he wants to leave not only on a high note, but impart his knowledge in leaving, at least technical knowledge about the car and racing with Aston. That'll continue as his legacy at the team. But going back to Ferrari, poor guy inherited that tractor from Maurizio Arrivabene. Don't know if I said that, but yeah, who was the team principal for Ferrari from 2014 to 2019, and left him, like everybody said, a very draggy car with a very poor power that just did horribly, except until they got in a bit of trouble with that fuel sensor and slipping some extra fuel. Taking an extra swig when no one was looking. Senora Spinella and the Ferrari squad, I think, are going to be bringing back a formidable power unit. Like I said before, that engine upgrade, what they did with their hybrid system, I mean, those performance gains were phenomenal. Whatever they're doing and the trajectory that they're on, I think they're going to be making a absolutely solid step forward. And then hopefully for the other teams that are powered by Ferrari engines as well, that being Haas and Alfa Romeo. And then, yeah, so it'd be interesting to see how that shapes up the season for everybody else, because if you have a middle pack team making performance gains to be competitive with the top two, and then towing the line for the other teams in the lower part of the mid-pack. Who knows how it'll mix up this year, but let me know what your thoughts are, guys. I'd really like to hear your opinion, because the more that they are, the more interesting the conversation gets. So you can tweet me, leave a comment below. I'll be looking forward to reading them. And thanks again, guys, for joining me. Thanks again, guys, for joining me on the podium. See you next time.